Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I've got a fun project for you today. Let's take a look at this quilt behind me. Isn't this a great quilt? First of all, I love stars. What quilter doesn't love stars? And this fabric, it's so beautiful, so easy to make. Let me show you how. So to make this quilt, what you're going to need is one roll of 2.5-inch strips, and we have used Aubergine by Debbie Beavis for Maywood Studio, and you can see how gorgeous that is. You're going to need a little extra yardage. You're going to need 4.5 yards for your background. You can see there's a lot of background on here. You're also going to need 1.5 yards of complementary fabrics for your star legs. Now I chose to do all my star legs the same color. Obviously you could scrap yours up, and I used my border out here is part of all the 4 patches we're going to make. This is a 4-patch star, and it's just, I just love it. It's so cute. So what we're going to do first is we're going to make our 4 patches. So that means you're going to get 2 strips out of your bundle, and I'm just going to use 2 colors. I'll use a lighter green and maybe a purpley color. 2 different ones, put them together so they have a little bit of contrast. We're going to put them right sides together and sew all the way down the side. So this is an easy 1/4 inch. Line up your strips and lay it under your presser foot, 1/4 inch, and just sew down the side. So what you're going to do is you're going to sew your whole jelly roll together in strips like this, because we're going to make 4 patches out of these, and you want your 4 patches to be different. You know, I like to scrap mine up. And so what we're going to do is once you get your 2 strips sewn together, and again it's wrong sides together and 1/4 inch at the top, I'm going to fold them in half like this, and I'm just going to lay them here and trim my selvage edge off over here. Let me move this down here. We don't need that anymore. All right, so now I'm gonna make sure that my selvage edge down here comes in a little further, and I'm gonna make sure it crosses the line right there so that I can trim that off and start right at the edge of my fabric. All right, so there goes our selvages, and now we're just gonna cut 2.5-inch pieces, and it's easier to cut these before you iron. If you iron them open, they tend to get a little bit wonky, and this way it's easier to cut these before you iron them, and you're just going to go along and cut all of yours in 2.5-inch pieces like this. And I did this to all my strips first. I made all my 4 patches first. Then you're going to come over here to the ironing board, and we're going to iron these open. And I like to keep my dark to the, my seam to the dark side. So you're going to go ahead and cut and iron all your patches, and you're going to have all these little 2 patches. And I scrapped mine up in the back. They're all scrappy, and so I have a piece here that's already sewn together, and I'm going to put it so my greens go in the opposite direction. And if you iron to the dark side all the time, then your seams are going to go opposite ways. So see how this seam goes this way and this one goes that way? That's the easiest way to nest a seam. And so we're going to flip these over now and line these up. Make sure that they just smash right together and you can't feel any fabric in between them. All right, I'm going to move this fabric for a minute because I don't need that anymore. And we'll sew these together. And you're going to do this to all your 4 patches. So I made all of mine first. All right, so now we'll press this open. And then let's go look at the quilt. So some of these 4 patches are made into our star blocks right here. The other 4 patches are just part of the sashing. And so that's what makes this quilt so cool and so easy, and the reason it gets big fast. So this is our star block that we're talking about right here. So now we need to make these legs. And for the legs, what we're going to do is I chose a fabric so all the legs would be the same. So I cut my fabric in 2.5-inch squares, and you need 8 of these for your legs. And so I'm going to count out 4 because I already have 4 done over here. And you're going to need a square of background that is exactly the same size. So 2.5, we'll need 8 of each of those. There we go. And we're going to sew these together. How we're going to sew these is I'm going to lay my white on top of my square like this. And then I'm either going to draw a line or press the line, and I will draw that line for you so you can see it right here. We're just going to go straight on the corner to corner diagonally like this. So just straight across. Oh, let me get that right on there. Hold that down. There we go. And I'm going to sew directly on the line. I'm not sewing to either side of it. I'm sewing directly on it. So I want to go ahead and mark my little legs like that. And I need 2 more. I have them over here. Honestly, when you make this many star legs, by the end of your making them, you'll get to where you can just eyeball that right across, which is what I do. It gets easier and easier, you know, sewing. It's that whole thing where sewing is a learned skill. And as we go along, it's going to get easier and easier for us. All right. So now I'm going to lay these on top of my, my star leg fabric like this. And I'm going to do it to all of them. And then I can just chain piece these through. So we'll bring all these over here to the sewing machine. And then we're going to put our presser foot so the line lines up right in between it and the needle goes directly into the line. And we're going to sew straight across. And we'll leave that on there and add the next one. This is called chain piecing. And the next. And one more. And you're going to do this to 8. I'm only doing it to 4 because I've already got 4 over there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut these apart and we're going to trim one side off. So I'm going to go ahead and cut in between all these like this. And then I'm just going to lay my ruler 1/4 inch from that seam line and trim off the side like this. And up here. And this doesn't have to be exact or anything because this is just the seam part that you're cutting off. All right, so now let's press these open, which means we're going to put our darker side to the top. And I'm just going to set the seam right there. Setting the seam just relaxes your thread. And then we're going to roll it back. All right, one more. Oh, I'm having a hard time getting those apart. There we go. All right, shot of steam, and we're good to go. Now let me see, where's my other 4? I have them here somewhere. Oh, here they are. Or there's one. Oh, here we go. Just a little mess up here. All right, so let me show you how this star is laid out because this is super easy. We're going to put all these blocks together so that the whites are what we sew together in the middle like this. And these are going to come on all 4 sides. And I have to remember that every time, whites together, because it's for me, it's, you know, I lose that angle so easily. So here's our block like this. And then we're going to need 4 patches, same 2.5 inch squares for the corners. Just like that. So to make this easy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up all these legs and I'm going to sew them all together all at once. So I'm going to lay them right sides together with my whites matching up. So just like this. So they'll come right together like this. And we're going to put them through 1/4 inch. Oop, that one got folded. And chain piece. And we're going to do all of these exactly the same. And before we do anything else. So there's one. And here's the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sets of legs. There we go. Now I'm going to clip these apart and then we'll press them open. All right, so the easiest way to put this block together, I think, and of course do what works best for you, is I'm going to add my 2 pieces right here to this middle section, and I'm going to do that right now. Now, if I want these middle seams to nest as well. So if I have ironed, because there's no correct way to iron that center seam, but if I've ironed it one way or the other, I'm going to push it the other direction so that it nests with that bottom seam, because these are already pressed, and hopefully, you know, because there's no dark when you're ironing white to white, so just make that work for you so it has less bulk and lays down nice and flat. All right, now the other 2 leg pieces, well, let's iron this open first. Getting ahead of myself. And I'm going to make those seams go the way I want them to. Sometimes I actually sew those on before I iron them. All right, now these next 2 right here, we're going to put this way, and we're going to sew white square to either end of those. So again, here's our legs, and we're going to sew white square to either end. So 1/4 inch, and I'm going to put 2 through, or I'm just going to do one after the other, and then flip them around. Now flip these around and add my square to the other side. Just like that. Now we'll clip these apart. And now I'm going to add these to the top and bottom of my 4-patch unit, and that will make my star. You want to make sure that this part of your star is matching up with the 4-patch, because sometimes accidentally we get those on backwards. We don't want to do that. We want our legs to go the right direction. Now I'm actually sewing this on before I iron it because there's several more little seams here, and I want them to go the opposite direction of my other seams so they can all nest. And then we'll iron them all at once. And here's the next one. Again, make sure to nest your seams. Alrighty, now we're going to press this open. And we're going to give it a shot of steam. Now, when you're dealing with small pieces like this, a lot of the time these little pieces get wonky for me. I'm not sure why, but they do. And so you just kind of want to trim this up so you have pretty straight edges. So see how this kind of bows a little bit right here? I'm just going to straighten that up. I'm not actually taking any size off the block. I'm just going to straighten that up. And it already looks better. And so I'm just, I don't know why that happens to me, but it does. It often does. So I always just kind of make it look pretty. And one more. And this one looks pretty good. I'm just going to barely shave this one. There we go, just a tiny. So then your stars are done. And this is what your star looks like. So let me show you how we're going to lay this together. So we're using our 4 patches. Where's my 4 patches? Here they are. We're using our 4 patches for our sashing block. When you sew 2.5 inch strips together, 4 of them, it makes a block that is 4.5 inches in size. So all of our sashings are going to be 4.5 inches in size because they all connect up to the 4 patch. So let me show you how to lay these out. You're going to do your first row of stars, and you're going to put a star, and you're going to cut a sashing block that is the same length as your star and 4.5 inches wide. And another star and a sashing block like this. And you're going to go all the way across. And let's count how many stars we have across here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across and 7 stars down. And so our next row is our sashing row, and our sashing row is going to be sewn to, I have to move some of my stuff out of the way here. It's going to be sewn also to a 4.5 inch block, the same size, because it has to fit under this side of the star. So it's going to look like this. So it's going to have a block and a 4-patch, and the block and the 4-patch and the block and the 4-patch. And that's this whole second row in here. Now I had a lot of 4-patches left over because I sewed the whole 2.5-inch strip bundle into 4-patches. And so I decided to use those in my border. And you're literally just going to put them together like this. You're just going to put them right together and make sure that you have lights and darks. So you'll want to turn that and sew them together. And I just sewed them in long rows. Now here's a little tip. If you take this to get it quilted, a lot of times these little edges will pull loose. So all the way around the very edge of ours, we sewed about 1/8 of an inch, just sewed a stitch line all along there so they wouldn't come apart when they put it on the quilt machine to stretch it. Because I toyed about with putting another border out here, and then I decided I just really liked the 4-patches. So you'll want to secure that a little bit, because when they put it on a machine, they crank it down hard and it puts a stretch on it, and you just, you don't want those to come apart. So it just makes a cute quilt, really fun, really easy, looks like you worked really hard, and we hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the Star Patch quilt from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.